This was on the first day of school, and this happened to one of my friends back in 2016. One of my friends at the time of this story, we will call her by the name Diana. Diana was on her sophomore year of high school, and at the time of this story, it took place on the first day of school of 2016. Now, she had a really great summer vacation, but since she was going into her sophomore year, this year was going to be interesting. However, what I mean by that is that sophomore year does get a little bit more advanced and you get more privileges as the higher grade you go. However, this is when Diana took the bus which she was assigned to the school. She got on all of her classes and everything seemed to be pretty good for the first semester. This was actually pretty good. She had classes such as math, um, hospitality, the cooking, fashion, designing, clothing, and gym for the last period. Now, she did have lunch in between, but since she had gym at the last period, it does take her a while to get changed and unchanged from gym clothes and stuff to get to doing what she normally did. So it was the first semester. One of the days on there was a couple times that she missed the bus and had to walk home due to being slow in the change room because normally she showers. Luckily, she didn't live too far from her house, only about a 15-minute walk. I don't know why she was taking the bus, but she stopped taking the bus during first semester for obvious reasons. But of course, that wasn't important. At this time, Diana, who happened to get out of gym, and it was time before classes were over, gym time. They give at least 20 minutes for everybody to shower if they need it, get changed, and etc., and be off. However, though, as Diana was getting into her shower, she did have a shower after gym, and she did change, but it was just when the bell had rung. Now, of course, she was getting changed, but she did have to talk to her teacher at math about something. She stayed a little bit after school to talk to her teacher about some stuff and ask her some questions. And after that, she decided to go and headed for the bus. However, she couldn't find her bus number anywhere, but however, she decided to text her mom saying she can't find her bus number and asked if she could walk home. Now, keep in mind both her parents were working, so neither of them could pick her up. So Diana's mom said that she could walk home from school as long as she follows the rules such as just watch your surroundings, make sure nobody tries to scoop her up, etc. That's the rules that Diana was following, and she's really good at following these rules. She decided to walk home, so she took a shortcut that saved her at least 5 minutes. It was when you cut across the football field and you go down the street for at least 5 minutes, and then she would be at her house within the next 5 minutes. It saves her 5 minutes because normally the usual route she took, it usually meant that she would be getting home in 15 minutes. However, when she was walking down that way, the shortcut, she ended up seeing that there was a mysterious black vehicle. Honestly, she couldn't really tell what kind of vehicle it was, but the windows were very tinted and it looked like a van. However, she couldn't find out what the model of it was, so this was honestly really suspicious to her. A man rolled down his window and said, "Hey, you want to ride back home?" Honestly, this made Diana really unsettled, so she declined and she ended up charging off into the distance. The car eventually followed her, but within like at least 5 minutes of taking some shortcuts, there was nobody there. When she ended up turning around to think that maybe somebody was with her, there was nobody there. Of course, she was able to get into her backyard, and of course, there was a sliding glass door, and she started knocking on it. Eventually, her older sister was home as she had graduated school 2 years prior, opened the door so she could be let in. Once Diana enters the house, honestly, those men were gone, and she honestly had no idea what it was. She didn't decided did to tell her parents about it because they'd be worried about her and say that she could not go to school for a while. But that was honestly Lee, the least of her worries. She never seen anyone like that again and never ever came across that vehicle again. She wondered what vehicle it was, but at the same time she couldn't really tell what it was since it was very different. She ended up not telling her parents about it and anyone else to question it, but she is now more careful when she goes home, walks home even. She is even more careful and to make sure to check her surroundings. Nothing like this has ever happened since then, but she does get paranoid when it comes to her surroundings to this day, even when she's walking home from school. This happened to one of my friends back in 2014 when it was the first day of school. Honestly, it was a really fun school, but he went to a different school. It wasn't the same school I went to, but he was in the same grade as me, which was his junior year. We will call him by the name David. David went to this certain school for that I won't name for privacy reasons, but he had been going there since he had moved to the area where I was at the time. Of course, it was at the north end, so he ended up going to a different school. David had pretty good classes, and he was always great with his grades, keeping them up. He wasn't like most of the men, like most boys there, who tend to be lazy and don't tend to keep up with their schoolwork and that. David honestly really enjoyed it, and this first class, which happened to be English, he did it very well on the first day. However, it was at least on the second period where he had gym class. Now, it was around close to lunchtime, and David had asked his gym teacher if he could use the bathroom since they were almost done finishing up a basketball game. His gym teacher, being the chill dude he was, he said that he could and also could get change and shower if he needs to, as everyone else will be cleaned up in about the next 5 minutes. David goes to use the bathroom and has a shower and even change when everyone else came out. He grabbed his stuff and he walked out and even said bye to his gym teacher and to tell him to have a great day, and he moved on. Since it was the first day of school, however, he ended up looking to see that there was some deranged man. He seemed to be wearing a hoodie and he seemed to have something behind his back. Honestly, he stepped forward saying, "Oh, hey there." David honestly didn't even know who this guy was, and at first he thought that it could have been maybe a parent or something, but this was definitely odd. "Oh, I'm just looking for my daughter. Do you know where she is?" David said, "I'm sorry, I don't know where your daughter is, sir." After that, the man walks off, not even saying anything. And what David saw behind the man's back when he turned around to walk off of the school property was a knife. He honestly didn't want to report it to the principal, fearing that he could get in trouble. That's just how David's paranoia goes. Eventually, David was going to eat, and he went to grab whatever he wanted, paid, and ate. However, it was the middle of lunchtime where a principal came out and into the cafeteria and asked to speak to David. David asked if he was in trouble, but the principal said no, he wasn't, and that they wanted to ask him something. David went with the principal and to the office to see that there was a police officer at the school. He had asked David if he knew a man wearing a hoodie and showed a photo of what he looked like. David explained that he did run into him when he was leaving his gym class to go get lunch, when all of a sudden he asked about looking for his daughter. Honestly, the most disturbing thing David has ever for heard honestly made him feel sick. Apparently this man was known as a sex offender in the area, and he had claimed to be looking for his daughter. He had been doing this to other students as well as different schools, but he was not caught as far as everything goes. David honestly had no idea who this man was or why did he ask him for his daughter. Honestly, if David asked him any more questions or if that man didn't leave, God only knows what would have happened to David if that man never walked away from him that day. Now, for some context, this happened when I was about maybe be either kindergarten or grade 1. Honestly, this was in the early mid 2000s. I think it was sometime in 2003, 4 year or 2004 or 5 year. I was a young kid at the time of this story, so I can't really say I remember much, but I'm going to try and remember the best I can. I was a young kid at the time and I was very energetic despite me being autistic. I was very energetic at the time and I really liked playing at the playground. The playground part of recess was the best part as a kid. Honestly, I had a lot of fun. However, I was in kindergarten or grade 1 when this happened, so I can't exactly remember. But I was playing at the playground ground equipment area and was having a great time when all of a sudden I looked up to see that there was some sort of strange woman. Honestly, I thought that it could have been maybe a teacher or a parent, but it didn't look like anyone I recognized. Well, back then I was a young kid at the time, so you can definitely say that I really wasn't so sure about my surroundings. I looked over to see that this woman was staring at me, but of course she was staring at the other children as well. Honestly, I had no idea what it was, so I ended up going to run around in the field after playing at the playground for quite a while. Of course, this was something that I have to really point out is that since I was a young kid, I didn't know the difference between a good person and a bad person. But at the time, though, I was just a kid. I walked up towards the woman who was staring at me, or at least I thought so, when she looked at me. I asked her if she was a parent of one of the kids, but she didn't say anything. She didn't even spoke up or say a word. She honestly was really, really off-putting. There was something really off about the woman, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. I asked her if she was okay, but she said nothing. And of course, this was definitely really freaking me out. Now, of course, at the time, this woman asked me some questions, which asked if I had my parents with me or is school going on, etc. I told her that it was none of my business, none of her business, but I told her to please leave. She honestly didn't seem to take the hint at this point, and she honestly was still staring at me. Honestly, I kind of felt a little creeped out because I didn't know who this woman was, and I didn't even know if anyone at the school knew her. She looked like she was in her early 20s and didn't look old enough to be a mom yet. Of course, this woman asked me if I would go with her to find her kid, but I wasn't falling for it, but at the same time, I kind of was hesitant. I backed away from the fence and then that's when this woman started to try to climb the fence. I ran back towards one of the teachers and I did show them someone's climbing up the fence and they go over and they saw the woman. It was the same one who was halfway way over the schoolyard when other kids had gone to their certain teachers to report the exact same thing. Of course, this is really weird though, but I can definitely say this was really freaking me out. This woman noticing that everyone was coming at teachers with students, and honestly, that's when she ended up booking it out of there. She ran back to what seemed to be her van, and she jumped in a large van and drove off. Honestly, that's when every single classroom that had given us the talk about stranger danger. Honestly, I have no idea why this woman wanted to get into the schoolyard or not, but if it honestly was about somebody trying to kidnap me or do God knows what, honestly, I have no idea who this woman was or what she wanted. Honestly, this had been going on for at least a few months before I showed up. So teachers said that this stunt had been pulled on by this woman before. It isn't the first time that it happened, but it was definitely something. We were told that that woman happened to be the exact same one who knew about the school and was kidnapping children. She had been doing this for a few years. Eventually, she had been caught at least a few days later, but I don't really remember if she went to prison or something happened. Still to this day, though, I am still grateful that that woman did not come and snatch me up, because I don't know if I'd be still alive writing this down if she was ever around. I am now 25, and this story still frightens me to this day. This comes to show you that even at school, something bad can really happen if you're not paying attention. This is why I encourage every teacher, parent, etc. to please watch over kids that they're supposed to look after in safe environments, because you never know who could be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the best opportunity to snatch up someone.